Fortunately, to acquire rationality is not complicated. It simply requires knowing and working through a three-step process. First, we must become aware of what we shall call low-grade irrationality. This is a function of continued moods and feelings that we experience in life below the level of consciousness. Below the level of consciousness. So how our moods and feelings on at the time of action or behavior or decisions like that. So this is low-grade irrationality. When we plan or make decisions, we are not aware of how deeply these moods and feelings, what kind of feeling that I have, what kind of condition that I have, right? Skew the thinking process, distorted our thinking process, right? They create in our thinking pronounced biases that are so deeply ingrained in us. When you see evidence of them in all cultures and all periods of history, so what kind of biases do we have? What kind of biases do we have which really affects our plan or make a thinking process? Or just when you make a decision, everything is affects our decisions. And these biases, by distorting reality, lead to the mistakes and an effect of decisions that flag our lives. So this is we make mistakes, and then also it is an effect of decisions as well on that moment. Okay, so being aware of them, we can begin to counterbalance their effects. If we just be aware of those biases and then those emotions at the time, we can begin to counterbalance their effects. So always just first step is just try to be aware of that is happening. So moods and feeling and biases. This is low-grade irrationality. And the second, we must understand the nature of what we shall call high-grade irrationality. This is a high-grade irrationality. This occurs when our emotions become inflamed, generally because of certain pressures. It's just simply put, when you just feel angry or just feel mad, so it is feel inflamed. So it is just high grade irrationality at the moment. So for instance, as we think about our anger, excitement, resentment, or suspicion, it intensifies into a reactive state. We always just should be careful. Reactive state. Everything we see or hear is interpreted through the lens of these emotions. So our emotions, especially anger, excitement, resentment, or suspicion, it's strong. So we always just interpret it through those lens of this emotion. We become more sensitive and more prone to other emotional reactions. Impatience and resentment can bleed into anger and a deep distress. At the moment, mostly when we feel anger, excitement, resentment, or suspicion, we become really impatient at the time. At the moment, I experienced it as well. So how we can just control or just try to step back when I feel really just angry or just feel resentful. I should just try to step back because at that time I'm become irrational, so I should accept or I should just be aware of my current situation. That's very important, I believe. Okay, so these reactive states will lead people to violence, to many obsessions, to uncontrollable greed, or to desire to control another person. Yes, this form of irrationality is the source of more acute problems, crisis, conflicts, and disastrous decisions at the moment. I try to just realize that at the moment I become irrational, so I should not say nothing, I should do nothing. I just try to step back at that circumstance and try to be alone and let her go by, and just try to let it flow Yeah, that's very important. This is kind of one of the strategies as well. Yeah, so that's why I've been training for that, and then I feel, of course, I've been improving a lot how I can control at the moment. But still, I made a mistakes, sometimes because I'm human. Sometimes I just make a mistake or sometimes fail. So it happened last month, but I don't regret that. Yeah, it was good, I think. And the understanding how this type of irrationality operates can allow us to recognize the reactive state as it is happening and pull back before we do something we regret. Yeah, so understanding how this type of irrationality operates can allow us to recognize the reactive state. I become reactive state at the moment. I don't know what kind of just fearful emotion at the moment. I don't know, maybe I just didn't live in present moment. I just try to repeat some kind of experience in the past. That's when I can feel that emotion, but I don't know which one. I don't know exactly what kind of emotion that is. I'm still trying to studying about that. Yeah. Third, we need to enact certain strategies and exercises that will strengthen the thinking part of the brain. Yes, thinking part of the brain, and give it more power in the eternal struggle with our emotions. How we can control emotion at the moment, especially when we become irrational. So, next part is step 1: recognize the biases. Actually, before with this part, I thought that I didn't have any biases, but it's not. It is just one of the human natures. Actually, all human have. So how I can control, how I can just realize or just be aware of that if I have those kind of biases and affect my decisions or my behavior, which is just kind of effective way to stay in rational. Yes. So emotions are continually affect our thought processes and decisions below the level of our awareness. And the most common emotion of them all is the desire for pleasure and the avoidance of pain. I believe that it's not exactly like emotion. It's just kind of physical condition on that day. So if I just physically kind of vibrate, and then also my energy level is really high, I can interpret that all situations or events or people into positive way, because my condition is kind of good. So physical condition is more important that emotions. Our thoughts almost inevitably revolve around this desire. We simply recoil from entertaining ideas that are unpleasant or painful to us. So desire for pleasure and the avoidance of pain. It is just main human nature. We imagine we are looking for the truth or being realistic, when in fact we are holding on to ideas that bring a release from tension and soothe our ego, make us feel superior. The present principle in thinking is the source of all of our mental biases. If you believe that you are somehow immune to any of the following biases, it is simply an example of the Planchel principle in action. Yes, I did that. I was like that too. I said it is best to search and see how they continue to operate inside you, as well as to learn how to identify such irrationality in others. Yeah, confirmation bias. I had a confirmation bias, while reading books today even. Yeah, confirmation bias. I look at evidence and arrive my decisions through more or less rational processes. But because of the pleasure principle and its unconscious influence, we manage to find evidence that confirms what we want to believe. And we're just looking for the truth in the way what we want to believe. This is known as confirmation bias. In the end, people want to hear their own ideas and prophecies confirmed by expert opinion. They will interpret what you say in light of what they want to hear, and if your advice runs counter to their desires, they will find some to dismiss your opinion, your so-called expertise. The more popular the person, the more they're subject to this form of confirmation bias. When investigating confirmation biases in the world, take a look at theories that seem a little too good to be true. Conviction bias. I believe in this idea so strong, it must be true. Those, on the other hand, who express nuances, whose tone is more hesitant, reveal weaknesses and self-doubt. They're probably lying, or so we think. These biases make us susceptible to salesmen or demagogues who display conviction as a way to convince and deceive. They know that people are hungry for entertainment, so they cloak their half-truths and with dramatic effects. Appearance bias. I understand that people that would see them just as they are. We see people not as they are, but as they appear to us, yeah. And these appearances are usually misleading. First, people have trained themselves in social situations to present the front that is appropriate, and that will be judged positively. They seem to be in favor of novelist causes, always presenting themselves as hardworking and conscientious. We take these masks for reality. Second, we are frontal for the halo effect. When you see certain negative or positive qualities in a person, social awareness, intelligence, other positive or negative qualities are implied that fit with us. People who are good-looking generally seem more trustworthy, particularly politicians. If a person is successful, we imagine they're probably also ethical, conscientious, and deserving of their good fortune. This obscures the fact that many people who have gotten ahead on so true, less than moral actions, which they cleverly disguise from view. The group bias. My ideas are my own. I don't know the total group. I'm not a conformist. We are social by its nature. The feeling of isolation, of difference from the group, is depressing and terrifying. We experience a tremendous relief when we find others who think the same way we do. In fact, we are motivated to take up ideas and opinions because they bring us this relief. We are unaware of this pull, and so imagine we have come to certain ideas and are completely on our own. Yet few would ever admit this influence on their thought patterns. The blame bias. I learn from experience and mistakes. Mistakes and failures at least the need to explain. We want to learn the lesson and not repeat this experience. But in truth, we do not like to look too close at what we did. Our introspection is limited. Yes, our introspection is limited. Our natural response to blame others and circumstances or momentary lapse of judgment. The reason for these biases is that it's open to people to look at our mistakes. It calls into question our feelings of superiority. It pokes at our ego. Superiority bias. I'm different. I'm more rational than others, more ethical as well. Few would say this is just two people in conversation. It sounds arrogant, but in numerous opinion polls and studies, when asked to compare themselves with others, people generally express a variation of this. It's equivalent of an optical illusion. We cannot seem to see our faults and irrationalities, only those of others. We know, however, the reality, and so some people, perhaps all of us, are merely deceiving ourselves. Rationality and ethical qualities must be achieved through awareness and effort. They must not come naturally. They come through a maturation process. And then rationality and ethical qualities must be achieved through awareness and effort. Okay, I feel a little bit tired. Okay, I can finish here and then I can do next day. Okay, so good job, Irene. Okay, you just need it for 2 days and not 1 day. Okay, so I feel for all the videos. See you tomorrow, Irene.